Hey YouTube, this is Evie here. I just wanted to explain the photograph I put on Instagram a little bit deeper with the Tarot Prague, the Sakki Tarot, the Native American Tarot, and the Kabbalaistics Tarot, comparing them all in a more detailed explanation. This is probably the reason why I'm making this video is because it is the Fool's journey and through the tarot perspective, and that's why I am doing it. This video is because it's the Fool's journey through the tarot perspective, and that's why I did the Fool as the picture on Instagram that I showed to compare all of them to. Let's start with the Tarot Prague. The Tarot Prague, we have the Fool. He's got on his platform, and his friend is pulling him away from falling off into the abyss of Prague, in the streets of Prague. Prague, I see in this picture, is the symbol of the abyss. And then you got the traditional Rider-Waite symbols like the flower and the satchel. So he's going on the journey, and he's trying to go aimlessly into the direction where he wants to go. And so Prague is the abyss, so he's trying to head towards the abyss. And let me go into color theory, because actually that's what I wanted to go into the other cards as well, as some color theory. And the color theory, I have my daughter off camera, I'm sorry about that. And she seems to do better if she's off camera and she sees me. But in color theory, you have the blue sky of Prague in the background, which blue is the symbol of peaceful tranquility, water, air, life, atmosphere. And that's kind of where you're getting with this beautiful rich blue in the Prague. And then you have the stars on the Fool, which I see as he's kind of a cosmic traveler. I like to view him as the cosmic traveler. And he's wearing orange, which means he's expressive in spirit. And orange is a very expressive color in any kind of artistic standpoint, and that's why I like artics. Orange says, I'm bold and I'm ready to take on an adventure that nobody has gone before. And so that's where I have stand with this deck. Now, if you compare it with the Sakki Tarot, I'm going to do this first. Now, when we start looking at the Sakki Tarot for a second, let me see if I can get that lighting. Yes. The Sakki Tarot really focuses on, in the guidebook and everything like that, but I also see this in my interpretation as well, is that the Fool and the Artist card is like a performer. So you got a stage thing going on in the borders of this card. So he looks like he's on stage and he's ready to perform in a way. So he's on stage and he's about to wander off stage until his dog pulls him back into reality. And so he yet again has his satchel ready to go on his journey, and he has the traditional flower too in the regular Rider-Waite Smith. And then he has a white light over here, which is like the spotlight of the stage. And you could also see here very minutely, you got the symbol of Uranus and the symbol of Aleph, which is a Jewish correspondence or Hebrew letter correspondence, and the planets or astrological correspondence as well. And it will only take a second to read a quick the little white book of Uranus in this little white book. Uranus symbolizes the divine mind, intuition, unknown, change, sudden adjustability, originality, uniqueness, revolution, restructuring, reforming spirit, unconventional burst of inspiration, and unpredictability, which sounds very much like the Fool. So that's why they have the planet correspondence there. And Aleph, of course, we some of you who know your come on. But as you see, is the well, I lost my train of thought there for a second. But Aleph, yes, Aleph, the Hebrew correspondence is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it relates to the Kabbalah. Is the beginning. It's the beginning. It's the start. It's the first step to everything in the Tanakh and the Hebrew Bible. And then if you could look at already what is similar. Okay, let me go ahead and see if I can fan it out this way. Yep. We could see what is similar, and this gets back into the color theory. They're both orange and bold and ready to go out on this journey. So they're both orange. So that kind of symbolizes to me already that is already a bold statement to go, or a bold statement. It's a bold statement. It's not just a blue statement or a green statement. It's a bold statement. Orange is I think one of the most boldest colors in the world, especially when you're talking about art and art theory, is that orange is so bold that it will kind of tone down everything else. Your eyes will immediately go to orange versus any other color, because we in our society don't really use too much orange. I'm wearing black. The ceiling fan I have behind me is brown earth tones, and the walls are white. Even your vehicles or your cars, if you had even red, it is, I'm getting into my next card here, is a bold color to symbolizes It's a bold color. It's not just a quiet color. It's going to be straightforward, and the Fool is not a silent personality, but it's a very straightforward personality. Isn't that right, Morgan? It's always straightforward. Like your Binky is orange. She's an orange personality. Alright, let me go ahead and continue onward with the reason why I chose the Fool as in the Fool's journey, I should say. Oh, gosh. We have the Coyote. Yet again, I was trying to film this earlier, and okay, this maybe gets a little bit more tan, but anyways, if you look on my Instagram picture, you could tell that the Coyote card, or the Coyote, yes, the Coyote card is very, 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 very much tan and earth tones, but it has splash of blue and red, and guess what? A splash of orange right there. And keep that pinky in your mouth, baby. You're gonna fuss if you don't. You're gonna fuss if you don't. She just won't go to sleep right now, and she won't bother anything, I promise. But yes, the Coyote and Native American folklore. The coyote is the trickster god in Native American folklore, and he's notorious for tricking the Native American people into doing bad things, so to speak, or bad things. So in a way, already, you could see this is probably like the Fool in reverse. If you were reading reversals, so you could already argue that, well, already, if that is the case, the coyote is the trickster god of the Native American folklore. This is already looking at the Fool in reversal, and because he's a fool on the journey that is not necessarily looking out for your best interests. But yes, and then he has his companion, which is the fox, which is also another interesting symbolism there too, because in a lot of people's interpretation of the fox is cleverness and tricksiness. So already, this is not necessarily the most positive Fool card, but it's not necessarily a negative Fool card either. Because you got the tricksiness of the coyote in the Native American folklore and the fox, which is in our everyday traditional folklore. I am not very good with my Native American traditional folklore. I would have to ask my husband, but I forgot what the fox would have meant. But yeah, I'm doing the best. I'm doing my best. But he's carrying a satchel too, kind of like our fools previously. He's still carrying a satchel and ready to go somewhere. So it's not like he's, okay, this is what I could do. Like so. So he's already not quite, he's also in pursuit of going somewhere too. However, this Fool card seems to be wandering off into the abyss, whereas he seems to be running towards something. Maybe running towards the journey versus the journey into the unknown, which is something I'm going to talk about real quick. Yes, we're going to talk about it really quick, Morgan. We're going to talk about that real quick. There's your biggie. But yes, instead of running off into the abyss, he's probably in the second stage of the Fool, which would be the stage number 2 of the Fool. He is running through the abyss, which is the second stage after this Fool. So he's already in stage 2 versus stage 1. Stage 2 is running through, where stage 1 is falling off and then maybe running to. So first stage of the Fool, second stage of the Fool. So he's about to walk off into the abyss and he's running. Or you could even view it as the other way around. It would have been, I got it the right way then. Or you could view it as the other way around. He's running so that he can go to the cliff off to the abyss. So you can, there's some room for interpretation for this Native American card as well. You could say that I know my Rider-Waite-Smith tradition and that he could be the second stage where he's already running in the abyss because of the desert land, and that is pretty much the abyss in Native American folklore, or even just our regular standard traditions as well, is that the desert is already the abyss. So you could already argue that he's already in the abyss and he's on that second stage of that Fool's journey. Or you could say that he's running to the cliff so that he could fall off into the abyss. There you go. I can explain that one in a nutshell. And then we get to the Kabbalaistics tarot. And this one is the most complicated symbolism of all. Because this one is very heavily rooted in Jewish tradition, and also very much just its own. This tarot set is very often the Kabbalah, heavily in the Kabbalah in the Jewish tradition. So this is like a double whammy of glazing over, and that's why I'm involving this card, even though I wasn't originally going to involve this tarot deck and this challenge. But for the sake of this challenge, I will go ahead and do this. Alright, so first things first, he seems to not have any cliffs, so he's not seemingly walking off in the abyss of anything. Or you could say that the scroll is the platform and the abyss and stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. So, and he's got the rainbow around him, which in Hebrew tradition, as many of you in Christian tradition, is that you know that the rainbow is given by God as a promise to not to flood the earth again. So, in this card, you could completely argue, is that right, Morgan? We could completely argue that he's on a full journey because of a promise that was given to him. And that's what the I should get out my Tanakh. It would make so much more sense, but most of you are familiar with some sort of Abrahamic tradition stories. So let's go ahead and run with this. But yeah, the rainbow was the problem, is not to flood the earth again, and so he's probably on a journey by a promise that was given to him as well. And so the rod symbolizes journey. The money right here, which the rod is implanting itself in, you could say is a journey of financial security, or a journey of security, or just a journey of those kind of things. The alligator is very thoth, so you don't have to really read too don't have to read it too in depth. Different than the thoth as far as the alligator goes, but when I read the guidebook, it said that the alligator is the fool's way of holding on to the occult traditions as much as his traditional traditions as well. So that I thought was interesting. Then you got all these mix of Hebrew letters flying around in here, and I don't seem to see Aleph. That's Aleph right here, but it's not an accented card, because some of the cards in this tarot deck is accented, and it will be big and bold, and will kind of like this card, for example. I'm not going to use the Magician today, but I'm just using it as an example. But I'd say the Fool, you have it looks like all the Hebrew letters in the alphabet, So you have already the oneness of the Fool. And then you got the stuff falling out of the butterfly net right over here. So he's probably, it's also a symbolism that he's trying to take his things with him. You know, the Fool's journey. He's trying to take the things with him. But as fate has it, he's actually leaving it all behind. You kind of have the symbolism of the hands and the feet and the infinity symbols and things like that falling out of his butterfly net that he was trying to catch or trying to bring with him. And it just seems to be falling out on the ground. So that tells me that he was trying to bring his baggage with him, but it, in a way, was all left behind. So, there you go. There's some really in-depth symbolisms in this card, even though at first glance you think it's a conjumbled mess. It's a real big mess. And I still completely believe, and from my previous videos, I don't know if I posted them or not, that you kind of have to have still a basic understanding of Kabbalah and the traditional Jewish culture, because Not necessarily the Christian culture, but the Jewish culture, because they have they have the same story, but they kind of have a different viewpoint on it in their culture. But in color theory, he's red, which means stability, sexuality, groundedness, and passion. It's a passionate thing. He's on a passionate, full journey. And the yellow is kind of symbolizing brightness, sunshine, and he's kind of bringing that inner light with him. He's got a rainbow hat on, which I like, but I want his shoes too. But I like his rainbow hat, which means that he's having that promise that is surrounding him also in his head or on his head too. So it's in his thoughts just as much as it's surrounding him, that this promise is going. And then his skin is blue, which is watery and which is airy color, which kind of to me says that he's a free-spirited kind of going on. He's free-spiritedly, and he's feeling and he's thought. Feeling and thought. And that's kind of like a swords theory, or what is water theory. The element of water and an element of air, and the suit of swords and the suit of cups. That's what it is. So he kind of has that kind of theory going on. So he's just kind of going on his emotions and his thoughts. He's not really thinking with his bodily state, even though a lot of his state could be stability, emotions, and things like that. Oh, wow. I got too deep into that one. And this one is kind of similar too. It's an earth plane. It's an earth state. So he's very earthy. He has his feathers, which is... shoot, my Native American traditions. Your dad would be so mad at me. Your dad would be so mad at me. She's so cute sometimes. But yeah, you could also say with him that he has the earthiness too. He's got an earth motivation too, because I think his feathers had to do something with rank, earthiness, connection to the earth, or connection to the air. Maybe that's what it is. Connection to air, connection to thought, connection to that emotional, that kind of emotional state of being. What are you trying to do, Morgan? She's being cute, though. So you also got, so what else I could pull from this card that, I wish I knew a little bit more of the traditional feathers and things like that, because that could also correspond to, the Fool as well, and this card. But I think a lot of what I explained earlier was very, very close. And this card is also very, if you want to Rider-Waite, it's kind of Rider-Waite Smith, but it also has some color theory. If you were interested in color theory, and has the planet correspondence and Aleph, which is also explains the card very, very, very quickly. And Aleph and the planet Uranus, the correspondence of involves the card very, very quickly. And then you also have the Tarot of Prague. And also you could get into color theory saying, yes, he's bold and making a bold statement. Yes, he's a cosmic traveler. Yes, he's taking the bag on this journey, and the flower symbolizing, I forgot what the flower necessarily is in the Rider-Waite Smith deck symbolizing, but somebody probably down below could explain it to me, and that's fine too. But Prague, to me, in this photo, or this card, I should say, is symbolizes the abyss, and his platform looks to me like he has. It could be another stage of the Fool too, like the Cosmic Traveler, because you got the stars here and you got the Running Man here. She only wants attention, but it's, she's okay. I will make this quick. But, yeah, so anyways, it's just like the Cosmic Traveler, or the traveler through space and time, too. So that's how deep you could look into the Prague, even though you could argue and say that the Tarot of Prague is very much like, is not very good as far as the planetary correspondence like this card is. And it's kind of more Waite-Smith, and it's very gorgeous, but you're getting a more basic meaning of the Rider-Waite-Smith. Yes, you're getting more of a basic meaning of the Rider-Waite-Smith with that card. And I would show you the Rider-Waite-Smith and I'd compare this to the Rider-Waite-Smith, but that deck is upstairs, and I'm not going to go upstairs at the second. I was just trying to read you this video, because I filmed it once before, and trying to get more symbolism and draw out the meanings a little bit more into each card, which I don't know if it planned out very well or not, since my daughter is still interrupting the video. But aside from that, I might actually, since I already got a dirty little secret, I got the second Tarot Prague deck coming in. And I haven't decided if I'm actually going to draw on the Tarot Prague, like the planet Uranus or the planet correspondence and the Hebrew correspondences too, because on my major cards, because if you've noticed my Tarot Prague, the borders are terribly done by me. I ruined my Tarot Prague. But anywho, but I don't know, it's just that would add another depth to the Tarot Prague that we didn't have before, and also it ties it into what I'm talking about over in this card too. What this card has, what the Tarot Prague doesn't, is the planetary correspondence and the Hebrew letter correspondence right there, that solidifies and gives this, what would be just this image, because you can almost argue that this image and this image is exactly the same card. It pretty much is. They're both wandering to the abyss. They're both going off into the unknown. They're both have the dogs trying to stop them from going. You could even go as far as saying he might be a cosmic traveler, because it's black emptiness of space. You could even go just argue that these two cards are one of the same, because they got both orange, both of the same thing, and maybe his satchel's different than his satchel, but difference in satchel's not too big. But what gives this card that much more depth is those little correspondence where this card does not. So there you go. That's why I also wanted the Sakki Tarot with my Perspectives Journey. And then you get something that is completely off the grid, which is these two decks, which is the Native American Tarot with the Coyote, and she's asleep now, yay! And then you get the Fool with the Kabbalaistics Tarot, and they are not really Rider-Waite-Smith traditional meanings, because you could read into the Fool here as the trickster god, and it's maybe more of a reversal of the Fool and the Fool theory than this card, which is more. He's also, you could say, argue and say, if by drawing out all the symbolisms in this card, that it's more Rider-Waite-Smith than we give it credit for, even though it looks nothing, absolutely nothing to the Tarot of Prague. There's nothing comparable to these two, except for you got the dog biting him to stop him going, and then you got the alligator biting him to stop him from going. But the alligator is all Thoth, or Thoth. I forgot. He calls what to call it, but you could argue that these two have nothing in common, especially with his symbolism with the rod into the finances, and he has nothing that's going for him. He's just a dude that's standing on a cosmic symbolism of him, probably of himself falling off the cliff. So you've got so many different things to work on, and that's why this journey of the tarot perspective is actually real fun. I might not do this with all my card draws that I do, but I at least will do the ones that I think that would help people and some symbolisms, and it will be interesting. I guess that's my thing, is I'm not going to do every single card this way and post it on YouTube, because it is a half an hour long video, and this is why I did not want to post it down in my comments in my Instagram, because this would be something I'll be writing in my journals, but I would not be writing totally in something that give like an essay paper or 10-page essay paper on why these are same and these are different. Even if I just did the Tarot of Prague and say to this one, I would still have an essay paper with these 3 card decks, because you could even argue, say, how much they're the same and how much they are different. Especially the oddball Native American Tarot. The Native American Tarot is such an oddball deck in this in my series, and I could even argue saying that I didn't even need the Sakki Tarot, and I should just do the Kabbalaistics and the Native American, because you already got your corresponding. Well, you already got your traditional Fool, and you're comparing these two to the traditional Fool, and it really, I think it just brings that much more depth. Brings that much more depth. Isn't that right, Morgan? We're bringing depth in people's lives so they can understand the Fool better. So yeah, even if I did bring these two, I would be spending like another essays explaining why the Fool is so important to the tarot cards, and it's going on 3 perspectives of the Fool. And if I had the Mary L Tarot, I could go on and about the Fool having butterflies around him, and that the butterflies transformation, which means that, and then he got little butterflies on his shoes, which means symbolizes like the Hermes and the Thoth Tarot, and his mask is covered, which means he's ambiguous. He could be anybody, and then he is a man, I believe, in that deck too, and he has the dual dragons, which is like a yin and yang and all that stuff. Oh my God, this would be terrible if I had the Mary L Tarot as well. So you did it better. Which deck I decided to work with, I would have made it a freaking complicated system anyways. But since if you are all watching my tarot perspective of the Fool's journey, and have made it this far of my Fool theory, I should say, let me talk about the back of the cards. This one is not reversible because I trimmed it, if you see that. Excuse me. The Native American Tarot. Hey, Morgan. Go ahead. Come in, Morgan. You were sleeping there for a second. It'd be better if you were asleep. You don't have to listen to my boring talks about fool theory. She did a sigh, which I think she agrees with me. But I love the back of these cards. I really do. It was a sad thing that I had to trim this deck. It really is. I love this thing, and even though I don't read reversals, it's something that I like harmony correspondence to. So, all right, and then I love this. I don't have the guidebook yet. My second copy of my Tarot Prague is not going to come until after July 31st, which is well into the okay, it's okay, boo-boo. It's okay, boo-boo. It's okay, boo-boo. I've tried to make this not so long. I promise I would try not to make it so long, but I'm talking about fool theory and the fool's journey. But yeah, I want to know what the back of it says. Truth and Story had somebody that described what the back said and things like that. Oh, you could actually see the shininess. Maybe you could see the shininess over here. A little bit, but not too much. But the back is really shiny. I kind of want to know what all these words and meanings around the back borders really mean. So, and I love the backing to this. This is my favorite backing of all of my tarot cards, except for the Goddess Tarot, which makes me mad because I don't like the Goddess Tarot. That's my favorite backing, and yet I hate the Goddess Tarot. I'm sorry. I see it on Instagram and things like that, and I'm like liking people's Goddess Tarot things going, I wish I could work with this deck as lovely as you do. I wish I could. My heart sings. It just doesn't connect with me. Alright, and then I want to talk about this back. Oh my god, this is a cool back. You kind of have a kingdom here, and you got like heaven, and you have like a pyramid. You could almost say this is like a heaven, what heaven would look like. I don't know. Remember if I think the Hebrew traditions, they don't believe in hell, or do they believe in heaven? I think they don't believe in heaven either, but I think the idea of heaven was probably in the book of Revelation. But I think it's the idea of paradise. I don't think the Kabbalaistics vision guidebook has anything about heaven too. You know that they talk about Sheol, which is kind of like a purgatory hell. Not really hell, but it's kind of like in between. Sheol is, it's like a temporary hell. It's been a long time, and I don't remember if in the Hebrew tradition they believe in heaven. I don't think they do, and they don't believe in hell either. So, but it's kind of the idea of paradise on this cards, and I like it. I really do, and I think it's interesting that they use that in this deck because, like I said, I don't believe they believe in heaven or hell. And then you get this really cool little flower things. I don't know if I didn't decide to download this video, but I want to do a walkthrough of this video, but I kind of could explain this along the way at the tarot perspective. But the edging of these cards are not very good cardstock. Well, the cardstock is good. It's a nice matte finish, but the edges are kind of have that punched out feeling, and I have one of my cards in there, my deck, that has like a ripped edge, like right in there, and I was debating whether or not to make a stink about it, and I don't think I will. But I I didn't know if I should make us think about it and contact her and get a new card for that card, but I don't think I will. I don't think I'll be that much of an ass or a dick to her. Because I love this deck. I really do. And I am so glad it came in time for the perspective challenge because of the, even in the minor cards. Let me see if I can pull a minor. Yes, they have some correspondences as well. And it's very traditional Rider-Waite still, but I just think that talking about the color theory and the color theory in the tarot is actually something that I wanted to tap on that nobody else is going to tap on in their walk of the tarot perspective. And that's kind of why I'm making a 40-minute video. Oh my god, it's been 40 minutes since I've been talking about this. I'm sorry, y'all, that I'm making you wait this long. But beautiful backing. So that is my cards for the tarot perspective, and I'm sorry that I made you sit here for 40 minutes talking about it versus my 20-minute video that I made before. I love you all, and I'm very excited to see your all's tarot perspective, and blessed be.